Hello, everybody. Today's webinar is all about the feature pack releases. So the last couple of feature packs that have come out. So these are feature pack 2202 and 2208. These came out around 2202 came out around June last year, and 2208 came out in December. And our next release is scheduled for sometime in May. So let's have a look at the agenda for today. So yeah, we're going to be covering the WebClient enhancements, and boy, there are quite a few of those. We probably can say that the WebClient is probably now got at least 50% of the capabilities of the desktop client. And the next couple of releases are going to include more functionality, including, there's been talk of the ability to customize screens, add buttons, build additional logic onto the standard screens that are available within the web client. So I'm very excited about that, but that's not what we're covering today. That would be in the next few releases coming through. So apart from the enhancements, functional enhancements in the web client, we're also looking at the analytics and what has been enhanced in that area. Then we'll look at what additional features have been implemented within the desktop client. And then we'll talk about a couple of topics that SAP has been working on in recent times, and more related the identity and authentication management. The single sign-on is more related to security, and finally we'll talk about some of the automation bots that are available for SAP Business One. So let's get right into it and look at the web client enhancements to start with. So with the web client, we now have a brand new skin, so to speak. So this is the horizon screen. So what you see is very clear, clean, white, easy on the eye. If you want to look at what the older version looked like, I mean, this is still available. You can still choose between this skin or the new horizon skin. But it's entirely up to you which one you want to use. This is the new one. This is what has already been available. The next topic or next point of enhancement is now we can also attach documents on marketing documents and BP master data. So that you've always been able to do inside the desktop client. We now have that in the web client. So if I go into a business partner record, and let's drill into an existing one. So here's our customer Maxitech, and if we go and look at the attachment section, there's a document that's been attached. Now, what I can do is if I go in and go into edit, and once I'm in edit mode, I've got the ability to add. So I can hit the plus button, and then from here, browse and navigate and find a document that I want to attach, or I could go into my file system, find a document that I wish to attach, and I can essentially drag and drop that into the window, and now that particular document's attached to this particular record. So this particular function, the drag and drop capability, is available on the BP master as well as on all the marketing documents. Marketing documents means any of your sales or purchasing related transactions. So if you look at a sales order, you'll see the ability or you'll see the attachment section, and you can again drag and drop data in there. Next enhancement is the ability to, or the support for barcode fields on marketing document screens. So if you were doing a new sales order entry, and let's select a customer Now on the contents area, there's an extra column for the barcode, and in here you can type a barcode, and you could even, if you had a USB scanner attached to your PC, you could even scan the barcode, and the system would then just basically accept that and select that item onto the transaction. So that's around barcodes. Next sort of set of enhancements around purchasing. So if we now look at the purchasing area, it's pretty much got all the transactions that are available in the desktop client. So the ones that have been added most recently are the purchase request, the ability to view and create, AP reserve invoices, viewing and creation, goods return requests, and then also AP credit memos. So all of these are now available. So if we actually go and look at the expanded menu system and go into purchasing, this is everything that's now available from a purchasing perspective. And if you then went and compared that with the desktop client and looked at the purchasing, probably the only things that aren't available are blanket agreements, down payments, and landed costs. Pretty well everything else is there now. And so there's been a lot of work that's gone in over the various feature pack releases. I'm not going to go through the process of entering each one of these transactions because it looks pretty much the same as any others. When we were trying to enter that sales order just before, the navigation and the usage is pretty much the same. On the sales side, and that's fairly complete as well now. I mean, if you look at sales, it's got all of those particular functions. The most recent addition is the return request. So you are now able to put return requests through on the web client as well. And so, either via the tile-based interface or through the menu system that hangs off the side. Okay, so next area, which again is sort of logistics related, is now you've got the ability to manage and maintain alternative items via the web client. So if I go into the item management and go into alternative items, here's a listing of all the alternative items set up. You can go edit this from here. You can go add another product into the list, and so on. Right, so that's now available. But not only that, but if you then went in and did a let's say a sales order creation, and we select one of our customers, and when you put the item through, and if the item has alternative items, then in the alternative items section, you can view all those. And then if you wanted to replace the item that was on the transaction with an alternate item, you can do that through this button. You can also go into the alternative items view from here. You can see a different view of the alternate items list. So it gives you a bit more flexibility around managing alternate items for transactions. All right, back out of there, and let's look at the next enhancement, which is around the financials area. So in the previous releases, you were able to start viewing the list of existing journals in the system. What's new is now we're able to also create journal entries directly from the web client. So, and just like how you can enter journal entries for GL accounts as well as BP master records in the desktop client, you can do the same on the web client. So here we can go start selecting a a GL account, or we might be doing it against a customer. So we can go in, or supplier for that matter. We can go in and start typing in and select a supplier, and then you've got your debits and credits, and then you can post that journal entry. All right. So next set of enhancements are in relation to the service module. The service module is now complete with all the features that are available in the desktop client are now available within the web client, and the key enhancements or additions that have occurred in the last couple of feature packs are related to the equipment card and the service contract. So now able to view and create customer equipment cards, or equipment cards for that matter. And if we go and look at an existing one, you can see it's just like in Business One desktop client. You can see the general, the addresses. You can see what other service calls, have been created against this item. So if I can even drill back and view in a separate tab the details of that particular service call. It's taking a while. Let's try again. Still in the current tab. There we go. So that's the service call, and on the service call you'll also have the item that's being looked at and repaired. So it's all linked together. So back to our equipment card. The equipment card also shows the linked service contract and the history of transactions, and you can also drill back to those. So that's the equipment card. But then if we go and look at the service contract relating to it, so if we come back into our service contracts lists, we can view existing service contracts as well as create new ones, and go and look at this particular one that was related to the equipment card we looked at before. We can see all the items that are part of this service contract. We can see the coverage. We can see what service calls have been created against this service contract. Okay. Next enhancement is around the ability to view and approve transactions. So, if a transaction needs to go through some sort of an approval, then you're able to approve that on the web client now. So if I'm going to switch to a different user, there's a user that's going to enter a sales order. This user doesn't have authorizations to enter orders, so or rather doesn't have permissions to enter an order without approval. So as soon as they try to add one, they will be asked, or they'll be informed that that order is going for approval. So let's have a look at how that works. So I've selected the customer, I've selected a date. I go in and put an item against the order, and let's add that. So as soon as I try to hold that generating this document requires the authorization of other users. So I can do OK. And then I can see that this has been saved as a draft, and it's an approval status of pending. As a user, I can go in and I can look at, if I go in and look at my documents in approval process, I can see there's that one there that I've just entered with a status of pending. And the person who needs to approve this, they would also be able to view the same thing in another list. So if they go into the documents, the approvals decision screen, that'll show all the transactions that are pending approval for that particular user. So from there, they can go and look at the transaction, see if they're okay to approve it. They can return back and select the transaction or transactions that they wish to approve. And then they can either approve it or they can even add it as part of the approving process. But let me just approve it once, and then I can even put some remarks. I'll say okay to go, and I'll click on approve, and now it's saying that this draft has been approved. It will fall off this list. If I return back to the other login, I can see, and if I refresh this screen, you'll notice that now the status is saying approved. And then as a user, I can go in, select the line, and select add. Now, what will also happen is the user will also get notifications of any approvals, either any approvals that are coming their way or anything that has been approved that they need to action. They'll start getting notifications within the web client as well. So here we go. That's just popped through the most recent one, and if you are logged in, then you'll see that come through on your screen, and then from there you can just review what came through, and then if need be, you can add it, or rather you'd go back to the to this list screen, and then from there add it and save it as an actual transaction. Okay, saying draft has been added as sales order 1017, and that completes that transaction. Moving on to the next point, which is we now have the just with the approvals, though. Please do note that these approvals only work on standard criteria. So if you have any sort of query-based criteria, then that's still not supported. I'm assuming that will come in the near future. But if you do have anything that's just based on pure dollar values or percentage discounts, it's okay. If you've got something that's more custom, then currently that's not supported on the web client. Next point is around being able to record the packing details against a delivery or an invoice. So if we go into a list of open deliveries, that's in sales, and view deliveries, and let's say we'll go into delivery number. Let's look at the first one here on the list. Actually, before we do that, let's look at one that has already been updated. So this 1029, this already has the packing details. If we look at that, we can see that there are 3 packages. All right, first package has got quantity of 2 allocated. So I've highlighted the line. If I highlight the second line, I can see that 5 units have been allocated there. And then on the third line, I can see 23 units. So you can also, of course, preview the layout of the packing list. So this is on one that's already been packed. If I now go in and look at one that hasn't been packed, let's pick up that first one here in the list. And then to update the packing details, so firstly, let's see here. So this one's not packed because there's no list of packages. But if I go and do an edit, and then I can go into the packing slip. And from here, I can then say, yep, I've got the first package, it's a box. And in that box, I've got one of those and one of those. And then I've got a second package. And on the second package, which is also a box, I've got 2 of those. Okay, so that completes the packaging process, and I can update that I'm not sure, we're getting an error message, but that's the process in terms of updating your packaging back into the system. Okay, so let's continue on. So next little enhancement is around the ability to tag distribution rules, cost centers, and dimension information onto sales and purchasing transactions. So any sort of marketing document, when you are entering the information, when you select the item, and then you've got some extra columns to capture the distribution rules. So once you go in, you can see, the different dimensions that are active. From there, you can select the appropriate dimensions that you wish to tag the transaction to. Now, you can also key those data in. So if you knew exactly what data you wanted to place into these fields, you can essentially type it in with with separation, using a semicolon to separate the data. So I'll just type it in and then it accepts it. Of course, if the data you've typed in is incorrect, then it's not going to work. It will give you some sort of an error, but otherwise it will work. Okay, and then you complete the transaction. Back to the list screen that we had. So next enhancement is around emailing capabilities. So now you're able to select multiple transactions up to 20. So there's a limit of 20, and you can then go in and say, I want to choose email options. So you've got 4 different options. You can, send just the email with a hyperlink. That's for internal people. You can send it with an Excel attachment, but probably the one that you'd most likely want to do if you're sending it to different customers is multiple emails with PDF attachments. Okay, a small enhancement around inventory transactions. So you're now able to also enter goods issues. So goods receipts were already there on previous releases. Now you're also able to do goods issue and adjustments of inventory. But yeah, again, the screen looks pretty straightforward, similar to what you've got in the desktop client. So next enhancement is around the inventory counting transactions. So you're now able to do your stock take counts, or actually initiate those from within the web client and also update the information. So I can go into create inventory counting. And in here, I can then say whether it's a single counter or multiple counters, what dates this transaction is related to. And then, of course, I can type in and select an item one by one, or I've got the ability to add items in bulk. And you can do that using various criteria. But what's also neat is that if you then filtered it by warehouse, let's say you had a bin managed warehouse, you can go in and say, I want to count everything from that bin to that bin. And you've also got additional filters around which aisles you want to count, or which shelves, and so on. So you select the items, and that basically then loads up all the items that meet that particular criteria, and then you can add the count sheet. Now, once you've added it, of course, then you can go in and put in the counted quantities and the variances. So if you go back in here, and I can go at it, and I can say I found 49 of those, and 7 of those, and so on. So you can't complete the actual posting of the variances. That you have to do back in business, the desktop client. But in here, you can complete your counting and update the counted quantities. So if you then go in and look at if you look at the listing of count transactions, you can see, what items are there, what's quantities have been counted, what the percentage variances are. And then from there, you would have to return back into the desktop client. And in here, you can go in and look at the same data and then convert it into an actual posting and save the adjustments or commit the adjustments. The last section around the WebClient enhancements is relating to production. So production, in relation to production, now we're able to maintain bills of materials, view and maintain bills of materials, as well as perform receipts from productions and issues from production. So if I went and looked at bills of materials, I can see all my bills. I can, of course, view that as a group or as a detailed listing. From here, I can drill into my bill of material. I can, view it. I can manage it. I can go edit, and I can change the quantities, add items, add, all sorts of types of lines onto the bill of material, and then save it. So that's one part of the enhancement. So you can add, edit, view. And then the other part is that you can now record, or you can view production orders. So you can view existing production orders that are in the system, that are open. You can, drill in and see the things that are in there, but you cannot modify anything, right? So this is purely a view. From here, you can see components, you can see, but that's only if you look at the listing screen, you can view it and see the data. Now, what you can then do is you can issue for production. And in here, then you can say, you can either type the production order number and the line number, or you can go and say, show me the list of open production orders, select the ones you wish to receipt for, so you can select multiple as well. And then from there, you'll see a listing of the actual components that are part of those production orders, and then you can go in and put in the quantities. I mean, by default, you'll see the quantity that's planned or remaining, but you can put in a different quantity. You can, as I said, type in the data manually and say, yeah, I want to receipt line number 1. So you could do that, but it's you might end up not finding the right item, but you can do it, and then you can post. And so likewise, you can also do the same on the receipt for production. So again, going into the production area and doing a receipt from production, select the production order, find the one that you want to receipt. Again, you can do multiple, and then confirm the quantity that's being receipted. So if we come back and look at, if you go back and look at that production order that we've just, posted some additional information on, then we'll see. So just do it in the current tab. Seems like opening an extra tab takes a while. So yeah, we can see that the data has been updated, what the planned quantity was, what was issued, and then we can also see in the summary what the position is. All right, so that covers all the functional enhancements on the web client. The next area we're going to touch on is the enhancements to the analytics. And so just a quick overview of what was already available. So you were already able to go into a particular transaction list and then, map your own charts and cards. And I'll show you some examples of that. So this is a list of open orders. I've got a different view. I can go and see, let's see this one here, which is my separate listing. And the default view of that is some graphs that show open sales orders by year, by count, by customer. And if I go into the next tab, which is a card view, I can see a specific card that's showing me, dollar values of those open order and, gross profit margins on those as well. So it's pretty handy, pretty powerful. You can see a lot of information relating to those customers or relating to that particular data set. So you can also select various fields and then say, let's view the details of those. You can export that to Excel. So that's already been there from before. What's also been there is the ability to create queries. So there is in the analytics area, you've got a general overview section. This has also been already there for a while now. You can see, you can create various cards and reports that show you different sets of information that you wish to report on. You can then have different views of those as well, which would be controlling the filters of the data that you're seeing. Let's say I change the view to say, show me just the last 4 quarters, then I'll see the same information, but now filtered for just the last 4 quarters. So all of this has been available. What's new is the ability to do linked lists. So what's a linked list? So basically on any screen, let's say I go into my business partner screen and I open up an existing customer. I can see some information. I can see account balance, delivery balance, orders. Now, if I wanted to see the history of those transactions, what can I do? Well, I can create a linked list. So here's a linked list, and in this case, the linked list is just going to show me open sales orders. But the power of this is that you can create any type of linked list relating to that data set. Now, in this case, as I said, this is showing this customer's open sales orders. How did I do that? Well, I essentially went in and created a relationship between that screen and another view of, and the view could be existing data set, could be a sales order listing, could be an invoice listing, or that could be just a query that I've already got written that I want to link to this particular screen. And then I can say, what specific filters are applied to that. And then I can do the mapping between the data in the view and the data in the source transaction that I'm opening this linked list from. So in this case, I'm linking the customer code and the customer code between the two screens. So this is on the BP master, but I mean, for example, you can also do the same thing against any of these screens. But another example is on the item master screen. So if I go into the item master, and if I open up an existing item, and in this case, I've created 3 different linked lists. Right, so the first one is for this particular item, what are the open transactions? So now I'm seeing a listing of all open purchase orders and sales orders with quantities. So quite almost similar to an available to promise report, but you can write your own version of that depending on what you wish to see. You can have different levels of details. I've got this one here, which is my default view. What else have I got here? I've got, if I go back into my views, I've got one that's showing just the open sales orders for this item. So now it's just a listing of which customers have got open orders against this particular item. and what are the dates and when it needs to be delivered. And then finally, I've got another view, another linked list, and in this case, it's a graph, right? So it's the same thing. What customers have ordered this, and when are they, when are they due? So we've got a lot of flexibility with this particular function. Okay, so just another quick reminder that on the web client, we're expecting in the next release or so, there will be the ability to do further customizations and add additional tabs, buttons, logic to existing screens. So we're looking forward to that. So we'll now switch back to the desktop client and see what enhancements have been introduced in that particular area. So the first one is around the ability to view the source of the price list that that transaction was captured. So when you put in items onto a transaction, right? So we'll just get a few items in. If the item in question, the price is coming from an active price list. Now, so that the price source column's been there for a while, but if the price source is a active price list, which is the case with line number 3, 4, and 5, we can also see which price list it was. Right, so it's price list number 6, and it's the regular sales price for those 3 lines. Now, if it's a special price, then of course it won't show the details. But if it's a active price list, then it'll show you which price list the data came from. Just on this same screen, on any marketing document now, you're also able to move the sequence in which those transactions appear. I think this was already there for sales order and quote screen, but now it's available on every marketing document. Okay, so the next enhancement we're going to cover is the change log. And in terms of change log, now we're able to see changes to exchange rates and indexes table. So on this screen, if someone has modified a particular exchange rate, we're now able to see that information very easily. So for example, on a particular date, someone has changed the exchange rate. I want to see who it was when they did it. I can go into the change log and I can see on the 6th of February, the euro exchange rate was changed by Jason Butler. Okay, and we can also then see what was changed. Okay, next enhancement is on the sales quote and purchase quote screen. So you're probably aware that on the sales order screen, there is a checkbox called approved or confirmed, and without that checkbox being ticked, you cannot progress that transaction further. So you can't convert a sales order into a delivery or an invoice unless this confirm button is ticked. We now also have that same functionality on sales quotation screens. So on a quote, you can now set that checkbox, and if it's not ticked, then the copy to button becomes grayed out. You cannot progress this transaction further. So that's the first part of that enhancement. And related to that, you can now go into your open items list and you can see who approved it. If it wasn't approved to start with, who was the user who approved it. So there's some extra columns on the sales order screen, on the open items list screen, and you can see who confirmed it and when it was confirmed. So this is both for quotes as well as for orders. You can now see that information of who confirmed it, when it was confirmed, and whether it's currently confirmed. Okay, that covers the enhancements within the desktop client. We'll just return back to our slide deck. So the next topic we had was around the Identity Authentication Management. So let's just quickly run through that. So, it's all about the single sign-on experience. So you're able to sign on to Business One and supported components via your identity provider. And so the current release, which is Feature Pack 2208, this is only possible for Active Directory or Azure Active Directory. These are the two services that can be used as external identity providers. And in time to come, additional other providers will be added, but these are the ones. And then you've got single sign-on on your web client, on your desktop client, on your SLD, on your license server, and, on your analytics and so on. Okay, moving on to the next topic, which is the SAP best practice for intelligent automation. Now, so these are basically robotic process automation for sort of day-to-day mundane manual tasks that could, with a little bit of smarts, could be automated. This is a subscription-based offering, so it's not within SAP Business One, but rather available through the SAP Business Technology platform. And the current automation bots that are available, these are the 6 that are available. So quickly just touch on what each one of those can do for you. Now, just note that there are a number of YouTube videos that SAP has already done on these, and you can view them. They're short videos of 3 to 4 minutes that show you the functionality of each one of those. But basically, if you start from the top, the master data enrichment for business partner identification bot basically pulls data from Business One and pulls it into the business technology platform, so that the point number 4, 5, and 6, when the OCR runs and it sort of identifies pieces of data in PDF files or whatever other format you've pushed up, it can then map that to your business partner. So it's just basically pushing data up, so for mapping purposes. The next one, the business document extraction from email. Basically, if you have an email and you receive some sort of an attachment within the email, that PDF or that attachment can be extracted out and pushed back into the what SAP termed the document extraction, information extraction service in the cloud, so that then further analysis can be done and then it can recognize what sort of data it is. Next, and then again, subsequently, that data can be used in points 4, 5, and 6 for further processing. Point number 3, activity creation for business partners. This is where if you've created leads in Business One, then this is a bot that can automatically create activities in Business One for the purpose of further follow-ups. The next 3 are more around processing transactions back in SAP. So when for example, if you've received a proof of delivery file via email, or you've got it on a shared folder, you place that and then into a predefined location, and then it gets pushed out to the cloud, into the business technology platform. It gets assessed, and then the data comes back. Or rather, once it's assessed, it then attaches that particular PDF to the appropriate delivery or invoice back in SAP. Point number 5, we've covered this one previously when we went through the AP invoice recognition. This is essentially that a particular process where you've got a PDF from a supplier, goes out, OCR scanning, and then it comes back into SAP. Then back in SAP Business One, you've got a visit to review the results and then make any corrections and create the AP invoices. And the last one, sales order creation. So if you received a purchase order from a customer, it can again, similar to your supply invoices, can be checked and then mapped back, and a sales order can be created in Business One. Just a reminder again, these are all paid for bots. So if you are interested in more information about these ones, then certainly touch base with your consultant or with your account manager to see whether these automations could add value to your business. And then the final one here is there's a solution that SAP has created for Business One, which is the SAP Product Footprint Management for Clean Operations. So basically, this solution helps you determine, assess, and optimize your carbon footprint on individual products, and this is related to companies that do manufacturing, right? So if you're producing goods, then what is the carbon footprint of those individual items, and sort of assessing it and helping you streamline and understand how you could reduce those costs, or how could you reduce the carbon footprint of those products. So it runs once again runs on the SAP Business Technology platform. It uses the SAP integration framework to communicate with the Business Technology platform, and it, as a minimum, requires Feature Pack 2208. Once again, if you do want more information, if you are interested in this particular solution, then please talk to us. It is a subscription-based service. Once again, the data from SAP Business One gets synced to the Business Technology platform from SAP, and then from there, you do all your analysis of that information in the Business Technology platform.